Hello, it's Jim for the Monopoly Project. We're out here on Val Vista Lakes for our regular floating book reviews. I'm the captain of the boat here. Unfortunately, it's the Bikini Girls' day off, so you just have me. But today we're going to be reviewing two books. And so let me get my notes. And so what do we got? We got Louis Rosati. These are two books by Louis Rosati. One's fiction, the other is nonfiction. I found the first fiction book, The Boy in Abruzzo, in the Phoenix airport when we were going to Bakersfield last fall to buy the assisted living facility, 36-unit assisted living facility that our future son-in-law, Jonathan, is now managing. It's been quite a work. I read it on the way, and I really liked it, and it was so good. I bought his nonfiction book, Louis Rosati's nonfiction book, which is Men of Steel. And it's part history, part photo documentary. His son, Michael Rosati, actually took pictures to put in the book. It's part chemistry, it's part analysis of the steel business in the United States, but mostly it's a loving reminiscence of his work at the steel mill where his father worked and his grandfather worked, a lot of his friends before he went away to college. Now he's a doctor, a medical doctor, he's a pathologist. He's living in Mesa, which is the next town over from Gilbert, but he's also the author of one other book. So anyway, we're gonna review these two books on this floating book review by the Monopoly Project. I'll be right back. Okay, it's Jim for the Monopoly Project. We're doing our floating book reviews here on Val Vista Lakes. It's what is it, February 7th, but it's still pretty cold. We had a real cold spell a while ago, and now it's just breezy and a little colder than we're used to here in Phoenix. But we're here to review our second book today, which is Men of Steel by Louis Rosati. We had just reviewed his fiction book, The Boy in Abruzzo, and this book is actually a nonfiction book by Louis Rosati, who is also a doctor, a medical doctor, a pathologist. He lives in Phoenix. He grew up in northern New York State, where his grandfather and father had emigrated from Italy, from the Abruzzo region, which is, of course, why he sets his fiction book in that region. But he tells the story. It's part history. He tells the history of the Simon Saw and Steel Company, which made specialty steel in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's part photo documentary. His son Michael takes pictures. They sort of sneak into the plant, and of course he has a bunch of reminiscences about finding places that he worked. He actually worked there before he went off to college as an older teenager, 18, 19, 20. And so it's also part chemistry. He talks a lot about the chemistry of specialty steels, which I found interesting, but might be a little heavy going. It's also an analysis of the steel business, why how the American steel business grew up after the war into all of this, and then how it collapsed with the foreign invasion and also innovations within the United States. But mostly it's a loving reminiscence of the late 50s in upstate New York, where his grandfather worked there, and by the time he got there, his father was working there, so he got to literally work with his father for a few weeks in the summer. So it basically tells this story, and it interweaves these different things: the history, the photo documentary, the chemistry, and especially at the later end, the history of the steel business. And so it's definitely a good book. It's not meant to be a formal historical work, so there's no footnotes and things like that. He does interview a lot of the people he used to know there who had retired, and even some who he didn't know. He tells the story of the men there, and also the women who worked there, and what the culture was like. And so, and just a few notes. He goes on. He does talk about foreign competition, and I think one of the very minor criticisms I might make of the book is he raises issues about like foreign competition, about new processes being developed in the steel industry in the United States, and he alludes to how they were not particularly well handled by the steel company management, the steel company union, and the government. But he doesn't really start to name names or pin things, although he does tell a lot of personal history of the union members and the managers of the steel business. And so it is, I mean, it's definitely very interesting. I think this book probably has a very limited set of people who would be interested in all the subjects. I even made a Venn diagram here of, you'd have to be interested in reminiscences, chemistry, especially iron, union history, Rosati's close relatives, U.S. domestic politics, because that obviously plays into the steel and the decline of the steel industry. So I found it very interesting because I'm actually interested in all those things: historical, union politics, all that stuff, even the chemistry of specialty steel and iron. So I definitely would recommend Men of Steel in that sense. So anyway, this is Jim for the Monopoly Project. That's our floating book review for today. Thank you for listening, and we will see you on the next cruise.